Planes aren't supposed to just disappear. Not in an age of global surveillance, real-time radar, and satellite tracking. And yet, one did. In the early hours of March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777-200ER, prepared for an ordinary journey. Departing from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, it was bound for Beijing with 227 passengers and 12 crew members on board. Among them were families, tourists, business travelers, lives paused in midair. The weather was perfect. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a veteran with over 18,000 flight hours, and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid were highly experienced. Everything about the aircraft appeared routine as it lifted off the runway at 12:41 a.m., climbing into the black Malaysian night. At 1:19 a.m., as MH370 approached the edge of Malaysian airspace, the final words were calmly spoken over radio. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Seconds later, the plane's transponder, the device that identifies it to air traffic control, was switched off. Civilian radar lost track. But military radar, operating silently in the background, still watched, and what it saw chilled investigators. MH370 had made an abrupt, deliberate turn west, back across the Malaysian peninsula. It then turned northwest, following a ghostly, meandering path across the skies. There were no distress calls, no squawk codes indicating an emergency, just eerie silence. As dawn broke, the world learned that a commercial airliner was missing, and no one knew where it was. Initial searches focused on the South China Sea, the expected flight path. Dozens of ships, helicopters, and aircraft combed the waters. Families clung to hope, but days turned into weeks. Not a single piece of debris was found. Then came a revelation. Investigators uncovered silent handshakes, automated pings between MH370 and an Inmarsat satellite orbiting high above the Indian Ocean. These signals indicated the plane had continued flying for approximately 7 more hours after it vanished from radar. Analysis pointed to 2 possible corridors, one stretching north toward Central Asia, the other south, into the empty hostile waters of the Indian Ocean. The southern arc seemed the most likely, but the search area was unimaginably vast, remote, isolated, and thousands of meters deep. And the only clues were cold, mathematical models of satellite data. With no physical wreckage, theories multiplied. Some suspected the pilot, Captain Zahari. Investigators discovered that months earlier, he had practiced simulated flights on his home computer, simulations ending deep in the southern Indian Ocean, eerily similar to MH370's suspected route. Was it a carefully orchestrated act? There was no definitive proof. Others believed a mechanical failure had occurred. A sudden depressurization could have incapacitated everyone on board, turning MH370 into a ghost flight, silently cruising on autopilot until fuel exhaustion. Then darker theories emerged. Could sophisticated hackers have remotely hijacked the aircraft systems, a cyber attack from afar? In a world increasingly dependent on digital aviation technology, it was a disturbing possibility. Still others pointed fingers at Diego Garcia, a secretive U.S. military base in the Indian Ocean. Whispers suggested MH370 was redirected, intercepted, perhaps even shot down, yet no concrete evidence ever surfaced. A more conventional theory suggested an onboard fire, electrical perhaps, that knocked out communications and left the pilot struggling to control a doomed flight. This might explain the sudden turn, the loss of signals, the long silent journey into oblivion. And then came the wilder ideas. Clandestine missions gone wrong, secret cargo, cover-ups, even extraterrestrial intervention. Fascinating. Sensational, but lacking solid proof. The world waited for answers, but the ocean kept its secrets. In July 2015, More than a year after the disappearance, a breakthrough. A piece of wreckage washed ashore on Reunion Island, thousands of kilometers from the search zones. It was a flaperon, part of a Boeing 777 wing. Tests confirmed it belonged to MH370. Hope flared briefly. In the months that followed, other pieces surfaced: interior panel fragments, seat cushions, a section suspected to be from the plane's landing gear. Currents had scattered the debris across the western Indian Ocean, from Madagascar to Mozambique. But crucially, the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder, were never recovered. Without them, the final moments of MH370 remained silent. The official search, led by Australia, Malaysia, and China, became one of the most expensive in history, covering over 120,000 square kilometers of seafloor. Robotic submarines mapped underwater mountains and unexplored trenches. Still, the search was eventually called off in 2018 after years of heartbreak and frustration. The families of the victims still grieve, clinging to hope for closure. Aviation experts still debate in conference halls. Conspiracy theorists still chase shadows across the globe. And somewhere, deep beneath the shifting waves, the true story of Flight MH370 lies waiting. The tragedy sparked reforms in aviation: better real-time tracking, tighter safety standards, new protocols for emergencies. But the final chapter of MH370 remains unwritten. A modern aircraft, a marvel of engineering, disappeared into thin air. And despite all our technology, all our determination, all our searching, we still do not know how. We still do not know why. MH370 is lost, but it will never, ever be forgotten.